How does nature form hexagons for both bees and basalt? Let's explore the similarities and differences in the ways the hexagons form. When bees make their combs, they need to use all of the space available with the least amount of wax while giving their offspring, the larvae, comfortable places to grow. The larvae are more or less circular in cross-section, so an array of tubes will make them comfortable. Bees make the tubes just the right size by using their bodies to form the tubes. Why do they make staggered arrays instead of square arrays? Because of the difficulty of placing each new tube onto a single point of a previous tube. With any vibrations or nudging, the new tube would naturally migrate away from that point until it encountered a second previous tube. In practice, bees feel the stability of 2 points of contact, making each new tube so that it contacts at least 2 previous tubes. In this way, instead of square arrays, bees make staggered arrays of tubes. Staggered arrays have the advantage of using less wax to fill the gaps between the tubes. Inside the array, each tube is surrounded by 6 tubes, the number of sides in a hexagon, because each tube is separated by exactly 60 degrees from each other surrounding tube, so that the 6 surrounding tubes complete a full 360-degree circle, a wonderful and inherent attribute of the geometry of the staggered array, constructed by the bees placing each tube in the most stable position. The body heat from the bees warms and softens the wax, allowing it to flow from the full intersections into the thickening walls, with the surface tension of the wax pulling it into the walls. As the intersections become less full of wax, the circular tubes transform into hexagonal cells. By making the staggered array of tubes, the bees set up the comb for the flowing of the soft wax to do the job of making hexagons that stiffen as the thickened walls cool. The slightly rounded hexagons are close enough to circular to be comfortable for the larvae while making efficient use of the space. How does nature form hexagons in basalt? The basalt used to be hot molten magma. As it cooled, it shrank slightly, and as it became stiffer while shrinking, every part of it pulled against every other part, causing stress all through it. The arrows of stress show the cooling magma pulling against itself as it shrinks. As the magma stiffens, that pulling stress gathers into circular stress patterns, with the diameter of the circles dependent on the flow properties and viscosity of the stiffening magma. To make the drawing neater, the arrows have been replaced by color that shows the overall pattern of stress. Why does the cooling magma form a staggered array stress pattern instead of a square array? A ball rolls from the edge of a bowl into the center because the higher edge is an unstable high-energy position, while the center is a stable low-energy position. Any vibration at the unstable edge starts the ball rolling downward or falling out of the bowl. And the square array stress pattern would be unstable in higher overall stress as indicated by the larger intersections of stress. Any vibration would cause the square array to start moving into a staggered array with less overall stress. Analogous to the bees constructing the more stable staggered array of tubes using less wax, the stress in the magma forms the more stable staggered array containing less stress. In the staggered array, each circle of stress is surrounded by 6 others. The maxima of stress are at the centers of the intersections of the circular stress patterns. Analogous to the way beeswax flows from the full intersections of a comb into the walls, as the shrinking magma cools into solid basalt, cracks start in the maximum stress centers of the intersections, then propagate along the stressed boundaries of the circular patterns toward other intersections, relieving the stress. With 6 maxima of stress around each circle of stress, the cracks make hexagons in the ideal case of even cooling. The cracks form first in the cooler upper level of the solidifying magma as it becomes basalt stone. Then the cracks extend down further into the solidifying magma as it becomes basalt. Without living architects like the bees, and because of uneven cooling causing uneven stress, the stress patterns are rarely perfectly circular, so the cracks usually form basalt columns of distorted hexagons mixed with pentagons and smaller structures in the gaps. Bees are neater architects than basalt.